Should a beginner get the RS 660? Today, I'm going to share my thoughts on the matter. The topic has actually been requested by quite a few folks, but just as a reminder, this is just my opinion. You are free to have your own. What's up, y'all? It's XIII. Welcome back to the channel. So let's get started with the topic at hand by first defining some things so that we are all at the very same baseline. So, beginner. What does that mean? What defines a beginner rider in this video? My definition for this video specifically is a rider with no experience riding a motorcycle at all, including any previous dirt bike riding experience, since it seems a lot of people like to use that as qualifications as riding experience for the street. Should and could mean two very different things, which I don't think we need to really dive into the definition of. So why is this even a popular topic? In my opinion, beginners absolutely love this bike. The RS 660 platform is something brand new, and it's a bridge between the more upright beginner sports bike like a R3 and then a proper sports bike like the R6. Approachable ergonomics, check. By the way, I'm going to be making a lot of references between the R3 and the R6 because, if you're looking at a sports bike, those two bikes are something that you've probably thought about owning before. The power on paper. 100 horsepower is more than an R3 and less than an R6. So it is seen as something that one can grow into. So approachable and desirable power, check. Aesthetics, the bike, let's be honest, it's drop dead gorgeous. It looks very similar to the RSV4, especially the new ones, which is often what a lot of folks have as their wallpaper at some point in time. So amazing looks, check. Cost, it's not cheap, but it's not crazy expensive either. Especially during COVID times where inflation is increasing and the price of other vehicles, cars or motorcycles, whatever it may be, has been on the increase, especially the used marketplace. So cost, somewhat, check. Electronics. Probably the biggest reason this bike is approachable for beginners. It has a fleet of electronics and rider aids, which makes beginners feel as though these rider aids can make or force the bike to be dulled down to the point where it is more quote-unquote beginner friendly. So tech and rider aids, check. So with all that being said, do I think a beginner rider should get the Aprilia RS 660 as their first bike? No. In my opinion, the RS 660 is not a bike for beginners. And the reasons why, in no particular order, here's why. The throttle is harder to control, which can seem obvious since you have more power behind it, but it's not just that. The throttle can be a little choppy at times, especially in first gear. The seating position is higher, which means one may have a harder time flat-footing the bike, which can often hurt confidence at slow speeds, especially when you're trying to learn. It is a lot of power as a first bike. Not to say you can't handle it, but a greater part of your focus will actually be spent managing that power. This really distracts from where your focus should be, which is learning your slow speed maneuvers. Focusing on how to ride with traffic, learning to look through the turns, aka all the fundamentals. Fundamentals are not sexy, but they are very essential. The pace at which you grow in terms of your riding skills will be much slower compared to learning on a smaller bike because of all the things mentioned above. Another thing is cost. Sure, you can buy the bike, but what about service costs, tire costs, insurance? All more expensive compared to other smaller, more typical beginner bikes that one may think about starting on. Spare parts for when you accidentally drop the bike, trust me, you will, or when you get into an accident. will be much more expensive, not to mention even harder to find parts given it's Aprilia, it's an Italian motorcycle. Are you a fan of modding your bike? Parts for that are also much more expensive because it is an Aprilia. So all this about cost and what of it. At the end of the day, you can find a way to cover the cost. The kicker with cost is that, what if at the end of your experience with this as your first bike, you find that motorcycling is not for you? You may laugh, but a lot of people end up in this situation. That is one hell of a price tag to pay for an experimental hobby, don't you think? So should you get an RS 660 as your first bike? No. But could you? In my opinion, I'd say you legit could if you are okay with the aforementioned issues, or if you fall under the quote-unquote exception category. Exception category being a list of exceptions, in my opinion, that could be considered reaching for some, but let's go down the list. So first one is you're a beginner, quote-unquote beginner rider with dirt riding experience. You're a mature rider who has control over their urge to twist the wrist. You are a rider that is coming back to riding after some sort of hiatus. And then perhaps some other exceptions, justifications you can make out. They're out there. People can justify their reasonings with anything, right? But anyways, at the end of the day, if you are a beginner rider and you want to get the Aprilia RS 660, despite knowing the issues that I mentioned above, more power to you, to be honest. Accept the issues that can come from that decision, and enjoy the good. At the end of the day, it is your decision, so you need to be at peace with the entire decision. You know, grown folks club. Just kidding. Kinda. If you were on the fence about getting the RS 660 as your first bike, or learned something new, hope this video was insightful. Comment down below any questions or concerns you may have. If you ended up getting the RS 660 as your first bike, comment down below and share your experience. Honestly, I would love to hear how it's been going so far. Any other topics about the RS 660 that you guys are curious about, let me know and I'll see if I can make a video about it. Alright y'all, that brings us to the end of the video today, guys. As always, thumbs if you enjoyed it, subs if you loved it, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.